Alright, welcome to the Cheetahs Podcast. Today is the first episode in which is pre-recorded. Usually we stream the whole thing. But we're pre-recording today, and our special guest is Dominic Pace.
Hey, how are you? Thank you for having me, and hello to all your listeners.
Let's jump straight into the questions.
Yep.
How has Star Wars affected you in, growing up?
Sure. Back in the 80s, we did not have, my sons, I have two sons, Dante and Bennett. They have just a huge array of different, styles of entertainment. When they were younger, they had the iPad. Now there's so much social media. Plus, you have millions of channels. You've got millions of different streaming services. When we were kids, we had our play sets back in the early 80s. So that was our entertainment. And what did we have other than Star Wars? My mom got me the original 12 figures, plus the Cantina playset. So my entertainment, my time as a child, the imagination, the creativity was playing with my playsets. That was the fun. So you combine that with also George Lucas being so ahead of his time in terms of science fiction. At that time, the science fiction, I think even Alec Guinness said himself that it was pretty cheesy. It was pretty corny. But George Lucas was so ahead of his time. And to have this ingested as a 6-year-old, to be in a theater in New York and watch Empire Strikes Back had such a profound effect on me, not only because of George Lucas, but because of the music of John Williams that pulls at your heartstrings. Combine that with the performance of Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill, where they had such a sense of urgency that when you're a kid, you can't register that it's just a fantasy world. So it just was such a profound effect for me as a child. And as the years progressed, collecting just always brought me back to those memories. And of course, here we are, 44 years old. And in September of 2018, it was just a dream of a lifetime for any Star Wars fan. It's not even an acting accolade. It's more of just the gift of being in my childhood fantasy is just beyond words right now. I can't tell you how excited I am.
Wow, that's the journey.
Yeah. Oh, without question. Yeah, I've been at this. I've been a character actor for about 24 years. I have almost 100 principal TV and film credits to my name. I'll be guest starring November 11th on Fox's 911. I'll be on Fox's new show Deputy, starring Stephen Dorff. That will be in January. But this, of all things, of all the guest stars, I've had a few recurring roles, one on Superstore. I do bits on Jimmy Kimmel Live from time to time. This to me means the most because the whole reason I wanted to get involved in this business was because of the fantasy, because of the fairy tale. My favorite movies when I was a child was Star Wars, Indiana Jones, E.T., Goonies, Gremlins, things like that were just kind of fun. For me, it's all about the fun and the fairy tale. And I've been saying something crazy over the last couple of weeks. As much as we would all love an Academy Award or an Emmy Award, the accolade and the honor of that, for me, to have an action figure, and I don't know if it's going to come true or not yet. There's an 8-hour series ahead of us, and I'm just a featured side character. But to have an action figure to me and for my family would mean just as much to me as winning an Academy Award. I kid you not.
Yeah, see, now, when Kenner released the Star Wars toys, they got all of, the small characters in there, and they came up with names for them, so I wouldn't be surprised if we got an action figure of you.
That would be the biggest honor. I cannot tell you the celebration I'm going to have that day. I've had fans all over the country and the world that are actually creating little figures. I was briefly seen in one of the trailers. I think it was trailer number 2. So they've been creating figures of me as fans and just as friends. But yeah, to have Hasbro or to have the Black Series or have Funko Pop get on board would just be beyond words. And I'm already starting to tour the conventions, but to be able to sign something like that for a fan would just mean so much to me.
I'm super excited for The Mandalorian, and I can't wait to see your character. And the design they gave you is just absolutely amazing. Which episode are you in?
We're looking at the first and then also the third episode as well. We will have a little bit of a situation in that one as for right now. So yeah, first and third. The third was directed by Deborah Chow. I can't talk about the storyline, but obviously very excited just to be a part of the universe there. You have characters like Squidman or Reese and Klaatu. They were on, only a certain amount of time, or even the original Bounty Hunters. So we have that kind of situation. But again, because it's Star Wars, it's obviously so special for me, especially to be a one-of-a-kind character there.
Yeah, I don't know if you feel comfortable talking about this, but does your character have more screen time than Bosk or Dengar?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that was pretty much that was pretty much a brief little briefing there in on one of the Star Destroyers. So the answer to that is yes. But storyline wise, I can't go any deeper than that, unfortunately.
Yeah, of course. Bosk and Dengar, you know how they're barely seen in The Empire Strikes Back. However, my friend in my band class, his wallpaper is Bosk. So I think that with your character, you could probably have quite a big impact on the Star Wars community.
I hope so. And the one thing I will say in generalize is that you'll see me a little bit in action. So it's less than just standing and just being a prop figure, which to me meant so much as a Star Wars character, just because I think the coolest part of the sci-fi stuff is you want to be able to have a little bit of action. So we definitely have a little bit, but again, I can't really discuss it, but obviously just holding our breath for both those episodes.
That sounds, beyond exciting to, be able to see. When you watch The Mandalorian, do you look forward to seeing your character, or do you think it's more about the actual show itself?
I got to tell you, not to be selfish in this situation, this means so much to me, and I think any Star Wars fan would obviously be jaded in terms of the fact of wanting to see your character. There's no question I want to go back and watch it with my kids and really take it in. But when you do sequences, sometimes they use 4 or 5 cameras. You don't know what edit they're going to go with. So for right now, at least the first watch through for the first few episodes, I'm going to be holding my breath, just making sure I got as much screen time as I thought that I felt. So that's really going to be the initial. And then I want to go back because you're talking about a $110 million budget under the watchful eye of Lucas, Kathleen Kennedy, Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, who are just obviously masters and so proud to be a part of the Star Wars universe. And they take so much pride in terms of putting forth a really good quality project and a product for the fans. So to sit through and watch it again is just going to be amazing. Right now, unfortunately, we're going to be shaken the next 10 days because I think any Star Wars fan would be able to relate.
Definitely.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential for this. It's not only with the conventions, but also at the same time, I really want to make a difference, get involved in a tremendous amount of charities through the 501st and the Mandalorian Mercs. And for me, it's just going to mean a lot to be able to have that impact on people's lives. Don't get me wrong. I mean, you can do that no matter who you are. But, when you're a Star Wars character and when you are, sort of prevalent or you maybe, might represent the face of one of the bounty hunters, you're obviously going to have a little bit more pull and able to, earn money or raise money for charities and causes and things like that. I'm really looking forward to because later on here in my life, I'm 44, to be able to make more of a profound difference in people's lives in a positive way would mean so much to me.
Yeah, I can't wait to see, a Gecko 501st costume.
Yes.
Or Gecko at charity events. I go to charity events every now and then, and, I see Star Wars characters there. But if I saw, your bounty hunter...
As a matter of fact, I actually want to put an offer out, at least for the first year, that if anybody cosplays me at any of the conventions that I'm at, they can definitely get one free autograph and photo without question. Because for me, for people to be able to build the brand and build the character, they're doing, my work. And that just means so much to me that somebody would be so honored to portray my character as a cosplay as opposed to any other characters in the Star Wars universe. So you can count on that for sure. If anybody if they know that I'm coming to a comic convention, and they will go out of their way to dress up in my character. And I was going to do an instructional video for all the cosplayers, perhaps in about a week or so, just to tell them some of the details of the character, if they want to kind of take it on. But it's definitely going to take a little bit of elbow grease because that prosthetic, it basically goes over the crown of the head, and it's 4 horns, so they need to be handy with silicone, which I don't know if just the average cosplayer does.
Yeah, I mean, I have no doubt that someone's gonna dress up as you at a convention because, I mean, you growing up as a Star Wars fan can relate to so many people in our world today, and so dressing up as you, if you saw someone, dressed up as you, I suppose that you feel honored.
Without question. The whole thing, I mean, I got to tell you, just the outpouring of support over the last couple of weeks have just been amazing. And you're talking about, again, just a featured side character. But from the illustrators to the people making action figures, and I even have a guy from Texas who made a sculpture of me. It's just overwhelming to see just the positive influence that I've had just from being honored to be a Star Wars fan, and to feel that in return from all the fans is just beyond words. And I'm just so excited for the future.
How would you feel if your character was put in a video game like Battlefront 2 in the later DLC?
That would be the coolest thing in the world. I mean, who doesn't want to play as themselves? That would be the most awesome thing ever. Yeah, I mean, obviously, Mandalorian is the bounty hunter, so I think some of the video games are now going to, kind of flourish in terms of different unique looks at bounty hunters. So if that happens, and hopefully if the fan base pushes to where they just find this character really popular. I'm 6'4", so I don't know if you recall the Death Troopers from Rogue One, but the Death Troopers were very tall. So I think, I mean, technically, I don't know what else is on the slate for all the new Mandalorian shows and also for the new shows coming up. But I think technically, with the exception of IG-88 and IG-11, which is a robot, I'm the tallest bounty hunter. So I think that might add some appeal there.
Yeah, well, that seems, that sounds really cool. Being the tallest bounty hunter, I mean, if you were in a game, they better put you up to skill. I want to see you standing next to Boba Fett, and I want to see that difference in skill.
Yeah. Thank you. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, Darth Maul, they messed up his design in Battlefront 2. He has 10 horns, but in the film they gave him 9, or in Battlefront 2 they gave him 9 horns. So what if they mess up your design in the game?
Hey, you know what? Just even being out there at all, I'd be honored with. A lot of people have done different interpretations on my blaster. I've been explaining it to a few people that have been making 3D printing of my blaster. So, I will definitely try to guide people along in terms of giving them the detail, also the photos as well. That the makeup department took. I'm sure, hopefully, that will give the people that are behind it all a little bit more of a following as far as how to make it accurate. But I want to do a nice instructional video for all the fans and cosplayers in about a week or two, just giving them a really good detailed draw of the character there.
Okay, I don't think you'd be surprised by hearing this, but a lot of the teachers at my school love Star Wars.
Oh, listen, this is a beautiful thing is that it's for people of all ages. And that's why we're still, I'm 44 years old. I was 5 years old and we're talking about it 40 something years later, because it's just, it moves people in so many ways. It's such a positive inspiration for people. The 5th episode for me, Empire Strikes Back, I mean, you can pretty much live off those words of Yoda in terms of believing in yourself and not giving up. And then also sometimes the family, the lineage, to where sometimes we're able to relate, whether it's brother and sister or brother and brother like Anakin and Ewan McGregor, Obi-Wan, or with Darth Vader and Luke, to where it's a father-son conflict. This movie and the series means so much to people that it's just a beautiful thing to share amongst us all. It's a form of escapism where no matter where you stand politically or socially, this is something we all get behind. And I can't tell you, like I said, to be a small sliver of the universe, it's such an honor.
I mean, yeah, you can pretty much go anywhere in the world today and you would see Star Wars. I mean, I'm from California, but I went to Germany over the summer, and there's a little toy shop there at the airport, and there's a huge X-Wing inside, and I'm like, it's the impact that Star Wars has had on the world.
Yeah, it's just amazing. And oh boy, I know those collectibles sometimes overseas can catch a lot of money. I know a lot of people who catch the card backs, they collect the card backs, and where it's something like from overseas, it's even worth more money.
Yeah, I actually collect the card backs. I have the entire retro series and a few vintage collection figures, and I'm kind of, obsessed with collecting these. So, I mean, if I see a Gecko vintage collection, then I'm definitely picking that up, without question.
Oh my God, thank you so much. And for you personally, just remind me, send a self-addressed stamped package box, and I'll sign it perfectly for you personally at no charge there.
Thank you. So I walked into science one day, and I told my science teacher, who has an ATST. He built an ATST out of cardboard, and it's in his room. And every Halloween, he puts it outside of his room and lets students take pictures and get inside. And you can actually, there's like 2 knobs that control the cannons. And I think it's super awesome. And I told him,
how big is this thing?
I think it's big enough to fit like 3 people inside.
You're kidding me.
Well, not 3 whole people, but like,
yeah.
I mean, the chest, from the chest up, it can fit 3 people, and then their legs would be sticking out.
Wow.
And he built the legs, actually, but he had nowhere to put them, so he threw them away. But I
I'd love to see a photo of this. You need to post on your social media a photo of this.
Yeah.
I think that's really amazing.
And I told him about how you were hopping on the podcast, and he was all like, "That's so awesome." And Star Wars has had a huge impact on my science teacher as well. And
absolutely.
He makes a few references to Star Wars here and there, and how Star Wars could happen in real life and how it couldn't. But I think the most beautiful thing about this is that so many teachers in my school have been, so inspired and impacted by Star Wars. And when I've only told my science teacher about this, no one else. When he found out that you were going to be on the podcast, he was all like, that's so cool, because, I mean, an actor from a show in a movie series that everyone in the whole school has pretty much seen is, going to be speaking to me. I think it's the impact that Star Wars had on, the whole world, and the fact that you're part of that universe and speaking to me, it's just absolutely astonishing.
It's beautiful what Lucas created, and it breaks my heart sometimes to think that he shied away from the 7, 8, and 9 just because obviously there was criticism for the prequels. But he's just obviously created such an amazing universe for all of us to believe in, and that's why, again, this is so special to me.
Yeah, I know before Star Wars was released, it was kind of headed for failure. Yeah, it wasn't doing so well, but I mean, when it was released, imagination sparked wild with people. For people struggling, Star Wars is a way to let those people know that they should never give up, and that, the sun may rise another day.
Absolutely. Without question, to go towards the light. It is so ridiculously inspirational, and again, it's a compliment as well to John Williams for doing such an amazing job with the moving scores that really, I think, inspire us as well.
Again, the impact Star Wars has had. I mean, people are performing it, people are dressing up, people are watching it all over the world.
Hey, yeah, I mean, look, I'm doing a whole tour here in terms of how excited I am just for being. If this was any other project, the production company would look at me and be like, "Dude, what are you doing, man? You're not in all 8 episodes." But again, it just has such an effect on everyone that even just being a side character for only a few episodes really is just ridiculously appealing. And again, from my standpoint as well, it's just I'm beyond excited.
Yeah, I mean, when I see your character, I mean, it's not. When I see your character, it's gonna hit me. I'm like, well, that's Dominic Pace, right? But however, like, I think the design of your character is just so cool. And
well, yeah, legacy effects, they work with both Disney and Marvel, and I mean, they've been around for quite some time, and they do some really amazing work. But thank you so much. Did you see me in the trailer? Did you see? I mean, I'm just lurking there for a second, but yeah, I mean, so that was the first glimpse, but you'll definitely get a closer glimpse there in the first episode as well as the third there. So yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it, and fingers crossed. We'll see what happens here.
Yeah. Has the type of character they put you as, like the design you with, has that ever been in Star Wars before? Because I don't believe I've ever seen. Yeah.
Not at all. I just posted something really interesting today that the makeup artist was inspired by this gecko-like model, a female model that he created about 2-3 years ago for a Greenpeace convention. And it's not been used before. I don't know. We don't know the species yet. That's all going to hopefully be through either fan fiction or through the Disney chain of command. But right now, yeah, it's just sort of one of a kind, and we'll see where it goes.
How does that feel to be the first of your species in the Star Wars universe?
It's absolutely amazing. Again, I'm just praying. There were certain times where I felt the camera on me, and I'm just praying that those shots come through so that the character can be iconic not only for me but also the entire Star Wars universe. But it's beyond words. I mean, that's why this has been so special. It's one thing to be a stormtrooper. As a matter of fact, when they designed my bounty hunter, there were 2 out of the 3 options where I was going to have a mask on. They were just going to have me in a big mask. And as much as it would have been exciting, it just has nothing compared to the way that they spent so much extensive time creating me each morning. It took 2 hours to get into makeup and 1 hour to get out of makeup, believe it or not. But it was just absolutely just the most amazing experience. I was there for about 10 days. And the first day, George Lucas was there, which was, again, beyond words, to be able to be inside a cantina and to be a creature within his universe, God himself. It was really something very special, the whole entire experience.
Yeah, so I'm looking at a picture of your character right now. I never realized that you had like the huge mask, because every image I saw, like I always thought that was like half your head up, and now I'm seeing that you have like this huge mask on the bottom of your face.
Yes, it was actually, they were going to go without it. If I wanted to, I could have just gone to set that day and played dumb because they forgot it initially. And I went to the costume designer on purpose, and because he initially had it on, and they couldn't find it. It was like in a different basket. And I said, Richard A. Pora, by the way, is one of the most amazing costume designers you can imagine. I said, Richard, I said, I have this mask on, correct? And I just wanted to remind him, because to me, I thought it was just absolutely badass to have the mask, kind of like a Bane or Darth Bane, to where it just kind of had that intense, overbearing look to him. I didn't want to have my entire face seen. I didn't think it looked that amazing compared to having the mask and being a little bit more mysterious, especially as a bounty hunter. I thought that would have a little bit more of an awesome appeal to the fan base there. So that mask actually almost did not happen, but thanks to Richard A. Pora for initially recommending it, and for me to remind them, because they were about to take photos of me before I got to set, and I did not want to. I wanted to remind the makeup and wardrobe. I said, no. I said, this mask is coming too, I believe.
Yeah, I think that adds like a sense of mystery to your character, and I think that's so awesome. I mean,
Yes.
I love mysterious characters in movie. Like in The Dark Knight, Joker himself was a pretty mysterious guy. We never knew a lot about his motivations, and I think that's what makes him so much of, a great villain.
Yes, no, without question. And that's what the one thing that I've been thinking about the last couple of weeks is, even with the limited screen time, to kind of open it up to fan fiction. If you look at either my Facebook page or my Instagram, and even actually my Twitter, somebody made like a front page of a comic book with me flanking Boba Fett. And, who knows what happened during the years before this. This is right after Return of the Jedi. So that kind of fan fiction to me is just such an honor that people would go out of their way to maybe perhaps create more of a backstory. Maybe my place is to be more interesting off of screen than on screen there. So I'm really excited about seeing what all the fans throw at me and put out there for the Star Wars fans as well.
Yeah, so in Legends, actually, I don't know if you know this, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people do. In Legends, Dengar rescues Boba Fett from the Sarlacc pit.
Oh, wow. And that was so funny, because when I first heard of The Mandalorian, I said, what if it is Boba Fett? But who knows? Now, hopefully some of the new bounty hunter, stories from that era will also include my nickname Gecko, the bounty hunter there. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, so there's this book called Star Wars Tales of the Bounty Hunters, which is Legends, and I got it when I was in like 5th grade, and I was reading, and I was like, oh my gosh, Boba Fett lives, and his legacy, lives on, and there's more to come of him, and there's more that happens in the story, but I'd rather not say that, because that part that happens in the story is quite shocking. And
yeah.
I think it's better for the reader to find out themselves. But I think it's so cool what they did with the rest of Boba Fett's character, because, again, I wouldn't consider him a member of the, an affiliate of the Empire, but rather just a bounty hunter who does everything for the money.
Sure.
And eventually that leads to him doing what he does in the story later on, which I'm not going to state. But I think that, the fact that they want to clarify in Legends that he's not an affiliate of the Empire, but just a bounty hunter that does everything for the money, that changes his character so much in the Legends stories.
Yeah. It's such an interesting occupation within the universe. There's so many different ways they can go with it. And, of course, all different bounty hunters have different levels of sort of a villainous behavior about them. So it's interesting to see how they're going to explore it. Who knows what is going to be in store at the end of Season 1. Maybe there'll be some really interesting hook of some sort.
I'm not sure if this is right. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe they are still adding the Legends today.
That could be true. I'm not 100% sure.
How would you feel if, your character had a whole backstory in Legends and, maybe even canon, if that...
It would be absolutely amazing. Again, I love the fan base. I've been a fan for so many years. And in terms of traveling, it's one of my joys of life. And to be able to meet Star Wars fans from all over the world and touch their lives in a positive way, the more they can make my character iconic, the happier I am. Just because the Star Wars universe I love. I've paid to go to conventions. So to actually be invited would actually be amazing.
I'm so surprised they don't have a Wikipedia page on you. I literally went on Wikipedia and looked up Gecko, but I mean, hopefully they'll have one when The Mandalorian releases on November 12th.
Yeah, we're just getting started. I mean, I think a lot of things are secret. I just was seen in the trailer, so I went ahead with just kind of hello. I'm very excited to be a part of it. But all that stuff, I think, is going to play out as the months progress there.
If there was, a film later on, that revolved around the Mandalorian, would you return to play Gecko, or would you have another actor play Gecko?
Oh, I would be there in a heartbeat. I would be there. I would be there in a heartbeat. This has been such a joy to be part of the Star Wars universe. Again, even on this smaller scale, and if they were to extend it, even with the Kenobi series, where obviously that takes place before the Mandalorian, all that stuff would just be so magical for me.
I mean, now, not every Star Wars fan, gets to see themselves in Star Wars, but I think what's so cool that Disney has done is opened up Galaxy's Edge to the fans.
Yeah.
I mean, I know a lot of fans were disappointed with it because
Sure.
it wasn't always original trilogy, but I think it's so cool because that's the closest they can get to being in Star Wars. And even
Yes.
though they might not be known by millions of people for being a character in Star Wars, they get to experience what everyday life is for civilians on Batuu.
Right. No, without question. Without question. So many places now with the 9 episodes plus now the series that the story can go. It really is going to be interesting to see which way they take it. And especially with this new streaming format of Disney Plus, it's going to be absolutely amazing in terms of just the way that it's presented to us as fans.
Have you been to Galaxy's Edge yet?
I actually was saving it for a celebration with my family and I, to where we're able to just finally take a sigh of relief once the character kind of becomes canon, to be able to treat ourselves to that celebration. And I joke, I say that I'm going to have a couple of those $25 cocktails and really enjoy the moment there. I'm really excited.
Yeah, no, I mean, I went to Galaxy's Edge a few days after it opened, and I mean, it was so fun. We get to meet all the characters. You get to fly the Millennium Falcon. I mean, who doesn't want to do that?
That's the coolest thing ever. It's so funny because I always think, like, if I win the lottery, that's the first thing that I would splurge on is a life-size Millennium Falcon in the backyard, to where I can host like a man cave in the back area where the kind of the hub of the ship, and then also be able to open it up for charitable causes and such. That's literally the first thing I think about with the lottery, as opposed to anything else.
It is beyond words how generous and giving you are to others.
And the thing is, for me, I've been so lucky in terms of the gift that I received to have this small opportunity. Not all of us are big movie stars. I've been a working character actor for so many years, but a lot of us are just genuinely appreciative of just the small things in life. And when you go through life with that kind of look in terms of understanding how much we have to be grateful for. I was so fortunate to grow up around my grandparents, where they went through World War II. They went through the Depression. And when kids understand this these days, you don't take life for granted, and you understand how lucky you are to have what you have. It should make you want to pay it forward, as opposed to looking for more for your own self-gratification.
I mean, I never looked at it that way, but, looking at it again, that is such a beautiful and quite an inspirational way to look at history. I mean,
well, I think overall it's a thing where people are less fortunate. People are battling diseases.
Yeah.
My wife just lost her cousin to cancer last year. One of the most beautiful and kindest women you could ever imagine. So when you start having life happen to you and seeing people that are no longer could have a voice for an illness or a disease, or if they're in a wheelchair, you want to reach out and be grateful for what you have and be able to pay it forward. That's why I'm so excited, not only for the opportunity to meet fans, but more importantly, again, to hopefully be able to make a difference amongst the Star Wars community, to where I can touch people's lives in a positive way. I'm just honestly just very grateful for everything that I've been given up to this point in my life.
Yeah, that's such a, nice and beautiful thing to be, to do with what you have, as to help others who are not as fortunate as you.
Yeah, without question. It's something I want to pledge for the rest of my life. And then also, there's 2 charitable organizations. They do a lot of good. They're cosplay organizations. The 501st Legion, I'm sure you're familiar with them, along with the Mandalorian Mercs. They're really involved amongst many cities and all over the world in regards to a lot of charitable causes. And I'm really looking forward to touching the base with them so that I can know what the best causes are throughout their city so that we can do a little bit of give back all throughout the world there.
Yeah, I mean, joining the 501st it sounds, actually, do you have any intentions of joining the 501st?
I know that some have emailed me and they've reached out to make me an honorary member in one way or another. Whether I join or not, it's really not the most important thing. But whether I can contribute to their causes is really the most important thing, and that's what I'm really excited about, mostly in the future there.
Yeah, I agree absolutely, like 1,000%. I think that being in the 501st is not all about it. I think it's their cause and what they're here for is what's important.
Absolutely, without question. Yeah.
Do you how often do you go to charity events?
Well, that's a good question. I have a publicist to where a lot of the events that will be used in order to maybe promote a film or promote a project, it might come along perhaps about once a month. I will say that I've been involved in the LA Mission, which helps the homeless here in Los Angeles. We have a major problem of 60,000 homeless. I've donated almost my half of my autograph collection, not my own autographs, but autographs of celebrities that I've had to the Women's Downtown Center, homeless women. You can go to, I believe, or just Google Women's Downtown Center of Los Angeles in order to get involved in that. And then I just made a contribution to another organization that I've been involved with for the past 6 years called Shane's Inspiration. And they actually build playgrounds all throughout the nation, I believe the world, for children who are handicapped. So they make it a little bit larger, the ramps, in order to help have the kids that are handicapped have a little bit of fun as well. So I think that's a beautiful cause. And then also the Los Angeles Children's Hospital, we've donated blood on several occasions, along with contributed financially with some of their causes, my wife and I there. So we've been involved in a lot. And again, this is just the beginning in terms of trying to pay it forward. I had an autographed lightsaber from Daisy Ridley. I donated to the 501st at the San Diego Comic-Con. We went down there with the Southern California Garrison, and they were able to raise close to $1,000 that night to go towards a charity there. So a lot of good things to happen. Again, we just need to hold our breath for the first few episodes, and then hopefully Gecko and this bounty hunter will be canon for many, many years to come.
Yeah, every year they have an event by the San Diego Convention Center. I go there every year and I have a blast there. We speak to kids with who have survived cancer or are currently suffering from cancer, and I think that people who beat cancer, actually my auntie suffered from breast cancer a few years ago, but she beat cancer and she's she's doing great now. But one thing I've noticed is that all of the survivors are just full of life. They have so much energy in them, and they're always so happy to be here. And I think that's beautiful, because I mean, so we don't live forever. None of us live forever, and I think that we should all make the most of our time here.
Oh, without question, yeah, and especially when you're in that kind of situation, you certainly appreciate every day. But again, those of us that are in good health, to be able to give to them is the best that we can. I'm really looking forward to perhaps making some hospital visits as well. I'm off to England in a couple of weeks for my first convention, at least tentatively scheduled, and their first charity event deals with Children's Hospital. So very excited to get involved over there.
No, that's nice.
So yeah, and again, I mean, the great thing is that Star Wars brings us all together for good reason, and obviously helping children and those with any disabilities is certainly one of them. So all good.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I think about the stuff I don't have, but then I never realized until now how little other people in the world, how little stuff other people in the world have. And it makes me want to appreciate, what I have now.
Well, that's terrific. Yeah, and the older you get, hopefully that will resonate even more within you, and hopefully you'll be able to pay it forward as well. Like I said, I certainly make a pledge to help as many in need as possible next year through the efforts of Star Wars, and then through my character there. Very excited.
So tell me, what was the first work you were in? Like the first film?
First movie, I was featured in a movie called For Love of the Game with Kevin Costner, and I was playing a baseball player. As far as the principal part, there was a show called Strong Medicine. I was playing a police officer. That was the first time I spoke on film on national television. It was on USA Network. It was called Strong Medicine, and then after that, subsequently was NYPD Blue. I guest starred. I guest starred on The District, Desperate Housewives, NCIS, Cold Case, General Hospital, Days of Our Lives, Young and the Restless, Angel, Bold and the Beautiful. Oh boy, the list just goes on and on. NCIS LA. We've been around quite a bit in terms of a handful of television shows mostly, and a few feature films here and there. I have a new feature film coming up next year called Anonymous Killers, which is a very dark sociological thriller, but very much excited about it. They're actually going to screen it out over here in Santa Monica tomorrow to a buyer's market at the American Film Market. But just a lot of great things coming up. If you look on my IMDb, it's quite a history, and also a lot of great places that we're heading. But most importantly, nothing compares to this opportunity with Star Wars there.
Yeah, now, where do you, I mean, this sounds like such a typical question to ask, but I really am curious. Where do you see yourself in, a few years from now?
I'm really going to be able to answer that question after a couple weeks. We might just go back to guest stars and co-stars. We might be touring the world and country and kind of making this character come to light in terms of just the Star Wars lore. So very, very excited, and we'll see what ends up happening there.
I mean, I think without question that Star Wars is like the biggest thing that ever happened to you.
It is, and again, it's ironic because this is kind of not the biggest part. But it's just the fact that it's Star Wars makes it very special for me. I've had really good guest stars on television, and I have a lot of good projects coming up. But this is something that obviously is very special to me.
I mean, how would you feel if your bounty hunter became, had a much bigger role in Star Wars, and eventually had its own? Actually, do you have any speaking lines in the Mandalorian?
No, I can't really talk about that. But no,
okay.
Again, it's more of just like the bounty hunter presence and a little bit of action there.
I mean, in a few years from now, I mean, if they come out with a new film about your character, or, if they implement you into another show, I was going to say a show, but you're already going to be in a show, but if they implement you into another show, like how they did with Dengar and Bosk during the Clone Wars, I mean, that kind of, gives more opportunities for your characters, and eventually, a video game sounds absolutely amazing.
Absolutely, without question. I look at it two ways. Obviously, any of those opportunities would be amazing, but at the same time, for me, the cup is half full. Just to have this experience, to have been on the Star Wars set, and to play a unique character, even just for this little screen time I have, is just beyond words. And again, if anything grows from that, I'm completely honored.
Yes, and I really do hope it grows from that, because, this is my first time speaking to you, and you seem like an amazing guy, and, you seem like such a positive person to be around, and, yeah. I can't wait to see your character come into play in The Mandalorian, and, I wouldn't be surprised if your character had anything more in the Star Wars universe.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much for your time. It means the world.
Thank you for, coming onto the podcast and giving me an opportunity to speak to you.
Anytime. Thank you. And I look forward to everyone hopefully sharing those screenshots after the 23rd. And I just want to tell your listeners I appreciate all their support greatly.
Oh, thank you. And I think that wraps it up. We went through a lot of stuff, and, we learned a lot about you and your career, and I want to thank you for, hopping onto the podcast and telling us about growing up with Star Wars and how Star Wars has impacted you and so many other people around the world.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it, and I wish you all the best as well in your studies, and also to all your listeners, may the Force be with you. Thank you so much.
You too.
Okay, have a good day.
You too.
Bye.
Alright, afterthoughts. Dominic Pace is an awesome person. He's amazing and super positive to be around. But I, on the other hand, didn't know what to say 90% of the time. Most of this was edited because most of the time I didn't know what to say. Mr. Pace was killing it out there like a rock star, and I was super shy most of the time. So that's definitely something I can improve on. But I think that today's podcast was a success. I mean, all the editing went well, the whole podcast went well, and I can't wait for the next one.